Strong and fierce, taking over. No one can deny we're queens in our own right. Swagger on fleek, we're ruling the game. Turning heads, yeah, we're making our own name. Living free, we're breaking the mold. Unapologetic, we're standing bold. Every picture we post, it's a story untold. We're inspiring souls, watch us unfold. Watch us unfold.
Hello and welcome to It's Not About Them, It's About You, the podcast for women in male-dominated industries who are the first, only, or one of few. I am your host, Samantha Kaye, and I am so glad you're here. This podcast is all about helping women own their confidence, step into their power, and embrace their authenticity without seeking validation from anyone, especially men. Together, we'll have conversations that empower you to show up fully, set boundaries, and navigate your career and life with clarity and intention. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you our guest, Nadja Hagen. Nadja is a self-love coach for high-achieving women, helping them recover from people-pleasing and build a life aligned with their values. With her extensive experience in corporate leadership and systematic work, Nadja has helped countless women protect their peace, set healthy boundaries, and create intentional lives. I can't wait to hear her story and insights she has to share with us today. Nadja, welcome.
Hello, Samantha.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, as you already said, I'm a self-love coach for high-achieving women. I teach my clients to set healthy boundaries and prioritize themselves so that they can intentionally create their life aligned with their values and build mutual and connected relationships without the need to pretend to be someone they are not. And I'm a self-love coach now, but I was a corporate career girl for over a decade in a male-dominated field with a leadership position. So I still can remember one of my first leadership meetings. I think I was still 29, maybe I was already 30, but pretty young. And I was pretty relaxed in my chair, listening to everything and looking around, looking at all the participants. And then it was like, gosh, I'm the only woman in this room. Wow, that was a light bulb moment.
I believe it. I understand completely, because when you look around and you don't see anyone that looks like you or that can relate to what you're going through at that particular moment, it can kind of be a shock to your system, like, what's happening here? Am I in the right place? Did you feel like you were in the right place still, even though no other woman was there?
At this point of time, I did, but that changed dramatically when I became a mom. So I was very good at adapting to the requirements of a male-dominated environment and be a woman but act as a man in a lot of situations. But the moment my priorities shifted and I landed more in my feminine area of life, I would say, where emotions, empathy, true connection became more important, this became a struggle. And also, the moment I wasn't fully available all the time, all around the clock, so I needed to set time boundaries, workload boundaries, that shifted dramatically.
I believe it. So, Nadja, you've worked with so many high-achieving women in the process of getting to this point, from being in a male-dominated industry to, prioritizing your time, being a mom. How do you help them recover from people-pleasing and align their lives with their own values? What inspired you to focus on this? I know you're being a mom, but what other things?
My own history and experiences inspired this. When I was, I think, 28, 29, I actually got fired with the words, "You're not good enough." I mean, even the words were even worse, but that was the slogan behind it. And I was working in the investment banking area, and I noticed I lost my job, then I lost my apartment, then I lost my friends because they weren't friends. I had a huge business network. And as I didn't hold a job anymore, so there was no business to be done with me. So no friends, no business network anymore. And then my fiancé broke up with me. All this within less than 4 weeks. And I moved back in with my parents. I noticed that I had identified so much with my job, with who I was in the corporate world, with a career woman, that I didn't have a clue who I was outside of this or in addition to this. So I was the prime example of a people pleaser. And I noticed the first thing that's important is that we get to know ourselves intimately. No matter if you're working inside the corporate world or outside, that doesn't change. Especially when we are in an environment where we are one of the only ones or the only one. It's even more important that we know who we are. So the first step was to get to know myself at a late age, I think.
Yes, I understand completely. Like you, at a late age that I allow myself, because I don't even think I allowed myself to know who I was, because I didn't even know that that was a thing.
And I think this can be a huge advantage for women in the corporate world. Because, when you're looking at other men, especially in the men where you wear very formal attire, like consulting, banking, they are all black or navy blue with light shirts. And then there's a woman, and I've met one, and she made a lasting impact on me because she entered the room, she was confident, but she was kind and feminine at the same time. So it was something like a unicorn. And she had her style. She was fashionable, but not in an overdone way. So I was like, gosh, who is she? I want to talk to her. I want to get to know her. And she had a fabulous career, and I really admired her overall style in life. Not only in her fashion, but her fashion was one way of expressing who she was at the core. And she managed the art of being highly professional, working in a male-dominated field, and staying a woman. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. I didn't even know there was a thing.
Yes, it is, to be very honest, because we feel we have to be cookie cutter versions of the men in order to be accepted, and for a woman to find her place and her own identity inside male dominated industries. That is a kiss to her for understanding who she is and what she's doing, and it creates her own value. I think those are things that I learned over time, working in a male-dominated industry, allowing myself to be me. I'm not sure, did that happen with you?
Yes. When I met her, I was so impressed that I started to ask myself, why does she have so many more freedoms than I allow myself, and why does it work for her? So what's the secret behind it? And these two experiences combined, they led me on a path of self-discovery, not only from the inside, like what are my values, what do I truly value in life, what has a high priority for me, but also how do I want to appear. And I noticed that I don't want to be this cookie cutter version anymore, that I wanted to be me, that I wanted to dress like me, that I wanted to just be the goofy professional version of me, the one who's funny and, the one who loves to connect and to make a joke and, the relaxed version of me. And that was fabulous.
Yes, I understand it when you allow yourself just to be. A lot of times women, we often hesitate to set boundaries in these places, and we allow ourselves to get caught up in labels. And that's difficult, that they feel that we're difficult or incooperative. What advice would you give a woman who wants to protect her peace while maintaining a professional relationship?
The first thing is that boundaries are of uttermost importance. And I can relate absolutely, because I felt the same. I thought the moment I say no, I don't want to take on an additional project, no, I don't want to work on the weekends in addition. The moment I set a boundary that I would be rejected or that they would just make me walk into my boss office, like, we need to have this talk. And, the thing is that if we want to do our job well, sustainably, we need to set boundaries, because we need to protect our mental and physical health, and for that we need space. So what I have learned is it's all about how we communicate these boundaries. There's a difference between me saying, no, I can't take on an additional project, or if you want me to handle more, then you need to pay me more. that's a different thing. There might be some truth to it. But, saying no very harshly very often gets us harsh reactions. So I used to communicate in this situation with something like, oh, I would love to take on this new project, but I'm already having project A, B, and C. So just let me know what has the highest priority, and then we will rearrange the pipeline. What do you want to be finished first? And that's the same boundary.
Right. I like that. I like the way you said that. That allows them to realize you're already working, you're already giving your best, and it doesn't diminish you at all or your capabilities. You're actually telling them how much you're capable of doing.
Yes, exactly. And it's collaborative. So I give them the chance to rearrange, reprioritize things. So we're in the same boat. And that's a completely different vibe than, no, I can't or I don't want, right?
Right. No, it does. And I love the way you said that, because a lot of times we are labeled as difficult, or we're uncooperative of in a job because we won't do everything and be everything to everyone else. So I think that that's an amazing way that you put that. That is great. How can women use their professional values as a guide to navigate environments where they may feel pressure to conform, improve themselves?
The first thing I recommend here is just take a little bit of time for yourself. So we as women, I think we are more emotional than men, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But we also need to learn to handle this in an environment where emotions are labeled as not being professional. So taking some time, that can look like, and I did it, so I did this myself, just sneak away, hide in the bathroom for 5 minutes, Maybe sometimes if it's something that is really highly emotionally charged, then be annoyed or be sad or whatever it is that's coming up. Give yourself the grace and the time of processing your emotions. And then going a little bit deeper with yourself, like what value, what priority might be hurt here in this situation? And how do you really want to deal with it? And it helps tremendously if you're looking way beyond the situation you're in right now. How do you want this to play out in your career in a month of time or in half a year? And then it's so much easier to find a way to deal with this that's totally aligned with who you are, no matter what the answer, the individual answer to this situation might be for you.
I like that answer. I love that because, again, us being people pleasers and allowing society to tell us who we are, a lot of times we worry about what everyone is doing outside. And you're saying, no, think about how it's going to affect you and what's good for you. I love that because, again, women in general, we're taught to make sure everyone else is okay and we put ourselves last. So people pleasing can be especially prevalent for women trying to gain acceptance in these spaces. What are the first steps someone can take to start breaking free from patterns?
I have a tried and tested answer to this, so I tried this myself, and it was one of the most exciting experiences. Saying no for the first time is a super courageous and brave act. So it's not something that we as women, or especially as people-pleasing women, do lightly. Like, yeah, I'm going to say no and I'm going to be okay with that. Very often we pretend to be these big bosses, but inside we are not.
Right.
What I did, I trained. Seriously, I trained. Like in a sports camp, I tried to say no to small demands. Like, can you finish this until 6 p.m. today? And I was like, no, I can't. My schedule is already full. And the first time I did this, I was sitting at my desk and I was like, somebody will come into my office being furious and gonna tell me I'm fired. And I was waiting for this the whole day and nothing happened. And I was waiting the next week and nothing happened. But I noticed that people were okay with me saying no when I did it in an appropriate way. And I noticed that things started to shift because I was so full, packed with projects and tasks to do. I was overworking, I was overperforming. And it was absolutely okay and acceptable to go to a normal level of performance and that's what I noticed during this training period. It was a little bit of, it was anxious, but it was also courageous and brave and exciting. And, making this experience for yourself that nothing bad happens when you say no is like you are allowed to make more use of your creative forces by deciding where you put your energy into and where you won't. And that leads me to another thing. Very often women wait for chances. They are waiting to get a chance to be allowed to do something. Whereas men are very often much more proactive. If somebody's hiring for a new role, the man is like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, oh, I can't do this. Yeah, I'm gonna learn the rest. So yeah, I will apply. Here I am. I'm a perfect fit. And a woman is like, oh, I can this, I can this, I can this, I can this. Oh, no, I can't this. No, I can't apply. I need to master this skill too before I even raise my hand. And, the moment you can say no is the moment you have a little bit more of capacity. And you can direct this into consciously making decisions that move your career and life forward.
Yes, that's true, because I think, like you said, a lot of times men are brought up, raised to believe they can do anything. A lot of times we as women are taught, oh, we have to do everything in a certain way, in a certain manner, basically different patterns or suggested direction in order to be accepted, or we have to be so much greater. I know as a woman and as a Black woman, those are things that we've been inherently taught, and it's been passed down generationally that we have to be 10 times as great. And as women, we too feel the same way when we're in these male-dominated industries. We can't go in half-assed. We can't go in and know the minimal. We have to have the maximum knowledge of everything to be accepted or to even be thought as a candidate for a job, when we bring just as much, if not more.
Absolutely. We have to perform at a higher level, very often for not even the same pay, but less.
Yes. I think we tell ourselves that too, before anyone else could tell us. That's what stops us from showing up fully.
Yes, I think we absolutely have to learn to, something that men are good at is playing their old drum. Like, look at me, look at what I did. And I think we need to master this too, not in a negative, too dominated way, like, look at who I am, what I did, this and that, I'm so great. But maybe more in a feminine way, in a way that's relatable. Like, with the example I gave, saying no by letting other people choose how we prioritize projects. That's one step where we show our competencies and we show off how much we are capable without showing off, right? And I think that's something we definitely have to learn and to master.
Yes, I think that is so true. For me, I think being able to stand up in my comfort of being good at something has allowed me to grow. Before, when I didn't want to say it out loud, when I was hiding from and not allowing myself to be great at it publicly, I felt I was keeping myself safe. So I think a lot of times it's safety in being quiet, it's safety in being still. Then we don't have to worry about what others are thinking about us or feeling or being disappointed and not getting opportunities.
Yes, I so agree. And I think playing the safe route, the safe card, that keeps us safe. There's truth to this. Because the moment I say I can do this, then I need to deliver. I need to prove it. So I need to do this to advance in my career, to get more responsibility, to increase my pay. At the same time, I'm putting myself on a plate for more performance to be judged. So playing small keeps us safe, but it also keeps us stuck. And something that was a learning for me too is when we look at very successful men, they are masters of managing risks, their own risks, their financial risks, their personal and emotional risks. So they go for what they want and they really invest themselves in things they believe in. But it not always works out, they have their backsets too. They might not talk as much about it, or other people might not, point towards this as much as if it's a woman. But they have their failures too. And managing risk to advancing in our lives is a super important skill that we need to learn too.
Yes, that is so true. Learning that we'll be okay even if we do have setbacks. Learning that it's okay if we don't get the position. I'm a true believer that life doesn't always have to go as planned, but we get where we're supposed to be as long as we keep moving forward. And with our perceived missteps, we learn something. So I am all for allowing myself to put myself out there, and my willingness to do that will allow me to make the perceived mistakes so that I can gain the knowledge to continue to grow. That's one of the things, that I've learned over time.
Yes, absolutely. I can relate to this one too. There's so much wisdom in this because I'm a mom of a nearly 5-year-old girl now. And when I look
beautiful.
at her, she's failing all over the time. She's cutting some paper and she's missing the line. But that doesn't stop her in any way to do it again and again and again and again until she has mastered it, because she doesn't make it mean something about her and her capabilities and abilities, right?
Yes.
But different with us. The moment we are grown-ups and we fail, we make it mean something about us. And, the path of learning is failure, because that's how we learn. So not getting the promotion, not doing it right, just maybe messing it up completely. That's exactly how we learn. And I think we should reframe this in our minds.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Can you share an example of a client who reclaimed her confidence when working with you by letting go of the people-pleasing and how it changed her career or life?
Yes, I have one example that she was working in investment banking. She was a highly successful woman, making a lot of money, and she became a mom too. So very often these challenges arise and become stronger when we become moms and our priorities shift. So she was thinking of changing things, and she had enough money to pay a nanny, so there were people taking care of her children, everything. But she said, every time I wave goodbye to them in the morning, my heart is breaking, and I noticed that this is no longer what I want. So here I want to mention this is highly dependent on what is doing yourself good. There are women who love to go away from home for a couple of hours a day into their offices. And for them, the solution might be completely different. But this lady was like, she felt like, I have to go out to perform and make money and have a fulfilling career because I'm smart. I want to do something in the world. But at the same time, I would love to stay home with my children and be a mom. So she did something. Very often we want to have the change instantly, right now. But especially career things, they need time, they need preparation very often. And she decided that she wanted to support people in building their lives in alignment with their family life and their mental health and all of this she struggled with. So it's a similar journey comparable to mine, which was exciting. And she actually started to study psychology, which I think was a very brave decision. And now she has finished in the meantime, and she's starting to get her feet wet and working with patients. And she said it was a long way, but it was the best decision she made. That was an absolutely amazing journey she had.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that for her, that she made that decision. Because a lot of times we don't make the decisions for us. We make decisions for everyone around us. So kudos to her for making that decision. Many women feel that they wear masks to succeed in environments dominated by men. What does embodying self-love on a practical day-to-day level look like, especially for those trying to stay authentic in these spaces?
So I think there are different dimensions to this. The first dimension is the most obvious one. So drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, getting a little bit of movement every single day. Maybe just parking your car further away to walk a little bit so that you have a regular self that doesn't cost you extra time. And it's important that we stay sane in these environments when we are dealing also with a lot of responsibility and pressure. I think the next thing is to carve out some time for ourselves to reflect and contemplate and to check in with ourselves. What is aligned, what is not aligned, what is lighting me up, because stress is not necessarily always bad stress. We have good stress flows. Like, I'm excited, I want to work on this project, I'm glowing up, I'm radiating. And we have negative stress, like it's too much. Maybe it's too much, but it's still boring, whatever it is. Diving deep into these things to see what's really going on below the surface level. And then, again, finding a little bit of courage to make adjustments. So it doesn't have to be the huge. You don't have necessarily to change your job if you're noticing things are not going in a good way. You can choose differently. You can choose to adapt, to change things, to have conversations, to be creative and look at ways that you might change your environment and your working conditions around you a little bit so that it matches better, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, I love that. Again, we're making choices for ourselves. That's what that means, to create that space of self-care and self-love. I love that. You've helped women protect their peace and create intentional lives. What are the most important habits and mindset shifts women wanting to own their space and show up authentically?
I think we're so conditioned to people please, to be everybody's darling, and to accommodate others, that starting from an early age, we rather forget about ourselves than being the mean bee, the mean one, the one nobody can stand. And I think the most important mental shift, mindset shift we have to make is that you are allowed, you're absolutely allowed to want what you want. You might not get everything in life. Sometimes you might have to work hard for some things. It might be the family that's working well, or the career that's progressing. That all requires work and effort and time and energy and resources. But I think the first and most important step is to be okay with what I want. There is this tiny voice like, who do you think you are? And the next thing, and that is so dear to my heart because I think it's a bitter pill that I had to swallow, and I learned it the very hard way. And I know that a lot of women's fun is ask for support. That is so important. You don't have to do everything alone. And especially in the working environment. If you look at all the male colleagues that have a very progressing career, they have support networks. And it might be the support you need with your children. It might be the support with learning a new skill set, or the support with somebody introducing you to someone else. But ask for support. And if this is something that is hard for you to do, ask for something really, really small.
I love that. I know for me, I teach my clients about self-allyship, and I believe in them self-allying themselves first. This is going to allow them to learn what they need and what they want. What do you think about them, your clients? And I know you're saying ask for help, but what about them self-allying themselves first and knowing what they want?
So much yes to this. The first step for me always is self-alignment. So whenever I start working with a new client, the first thing we do is defining her values. And we reduce it to the 3 to 5 most important ones so that we can use these ones as a navigation system, as a compass. So whenever I need to make a decision, no matter if it's big or small, and I check in, does this bring me closer to my most important values? Then it's a yes. Or does it move me further away? Then it's probably no. So that's absolutely the first step. I absolutely agree with this one.
Awesome. Yes. So what role do you think healthy relationships, both personal and professional, play in helping women thrive in spaces where they are often the minority?
I think that it starts with the private relationships. They are also of uttermost importance because we all know we have hard days. We have days where we feel like the complete failure. Everybody does. That's part of life. That's normal. And these days are hard. So having somebody in your corner, a friend, a partner, a parent, whoever it is, who is patting your back and saying, you got this, I believe in you, This is the medicine that can make the difference between giving up in hard times and gracefully growing through them. So whoever it is, we need some people who want us to succeed and who are in our corner having our backs. Because, the moment I see a new position open up and I'm thinking about, should I apply? Or maybe I missed 20% of the required skills. Having someone like, yeah, come on, you have to do it. That's your role. Go for it. That works wonders. So that's super important. And I think it's equally important in the professional environment because we can't succeed alone. We need people who recommend us, people who praise us, especially when we are not in the room. And we need to build alliances, so finding out how we're going to support each other. It doesn't have to be a female-only network necessarily. It's good if we have these things. It's also okay if we collaborate and support each other with male colleagues. But I think also having the courage to bring in a little bit of professional vulnerability that enables us to build truly connected relationships, even on a professional level. And, when we know someone, then we trust someone, and then it's so much easier to say, hey, I know someone who would be a good fit, or look at him, look at her, having this recommendations and praise. So that's super helpful.
That is awesome. Yes. Well, we've reached to my last question. This is my question that I ask all my guests. So, Nadja, this podcast is all about helping women in male-dominated industries to thrive by owning their space and be confident, stepping into their own power. What advice would you give women listening today about showing up authentically and taking ownership of their space?
The world needs you. Absolutely. I think women have a different approach to things than men do. Very often approaches that consider more the overall genuine consequences and relationships of everything. So when we are leading a team as a woman, we have a closer look at how people deal with each other, how is the tone, how is, the emotional, the soft side, which we know by now is a huge success factor. So most people don't leave their companies, they leave their bosses. So the world needs you. It's so important that you find your authenticity, that you find your way, that you take up your space as a woman, because you're serving yourself, but you are also serving everyone around you. And you are a shining light. You are an example for all the other women standing behind you, the younger ones, the ones that want to do the same that you already did, looking up to you, getting inspired. So I would say, not only the world needs you, but it's your duty. That's why you have been put there. So please, take up your space, find your voice, do the things your way, and I'm absolutely sure you will succeed with that.
Well, that is awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to thank you so much for coming to the show today. I appreciate that. Could you tell me and tell my audience, how could they get in touch with you? And if you have anything you'd like to share with them today?
Yes, I would love to. Here you can find me in my virtual home. That's nadjahagen.com. And if you struggling with saying no and you want to learn how to set healthy boundaries that feel comfortable to you, but that are also effective, then I have something to you. I have a checklist where I guide you through the whole boundary setting process. And promise, it sounds complicated, but it's absolutely simple. It might not always be easy, but it's absolutely doable and simple.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. And I'm so appreciative of you coming on and sharing your story with myself and my audience, because like you said, these are so quite important subjects that we as women don't have, that we should have, to encourage each other, to motivate each other, to just allow ourselves to see someone else is going through and that they have the support that they need. So thank you so much for that. And everything that Nadja said that she has, I'm going to have in my show notes. And I just appreciate her again for showing up. And I want to thank you for joining me today on It's Not About Them, It's About You. And a big thank you to Nadja for sharing her story and her powerful strategies with us. Before we wrap up, You don't need anyone's permission to show up, speak your truth. You are especially amazing just the way you are. You have the power within you to create the career and life you deserve. If you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow, share with another woman who can use this message. And if you are ready to dive deeper into a confidence journey, take my confidence quiz, and you can see that in the show notes. Until next time, I'm Samantha Kaye, and remember, it's not about them, it's about you. Keep your owning your power and showing up authentically. Sis, you don't have to twist, shrink, or hide. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued for exactly who you are. If this episode spoke to you, make sure you follow, subscribe, so you never miss the conversation. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, take my confidence quiz. The link is in the show notes. Or book a session with me to start showing up in your career and life with the confidence you deserve. Until next time, walk through the door differently, show up, show out, be you, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Strong and fierce, taking over. No one can deny we're queens in our own right. Swagger on fleek, we're ruling the game. Turning heads, yeah, we're making our own name. Living free, we're breaking the mold. Unapologetic, we're standing bold. Every picture we post, it's a story untold. We're inspiring souls, watch us unfold. Watch us unfold. Capture the moment, hold it tight. Every click, every flash, we're shining so bright. Through the lens, we're showing who we truly are.